Okay, good morning year 8. Today we are multiplying and dividing terms. So there's different rules for multiplying and dividing than there were for adding and subtracting. So for adding and subtracting we always had to have like terms. If we didn't have like terms then we couldn't do anything to add or subtract. But if you are multiplying, you can multiply and divide any terms. That's what that says here. You can multiply and divide any terms. Okay, so all you have to do is, if you're multiplying, multiply any numbers and collect up the letters afterwards. So let me show you in the examples here. Example number 1. Simplify the following. Part A, 5 times 2x. So multiply the numbers. 5 times 2 is 10. And collect up the letters, so the only letter there is an x, so 10x. So let's do it again for B. 7ab times 4c. 7 times 4 is 28, so multiply the numbers. And all the letters we collect at the end, so there's an A, a B, and a C. A, B, C. Part C. Multiply the numbers, so 11 times minus 3 is minus 33. And collect up the letters, there's a P and a Q. Part D, doesn't matter if there's 3 terms, 4 terms, however many you like, you multiply the numbers. 2 times 4 times minus 5, so careful with the minuses. That gives you a minus 40. Collect up the letters. Now A times A, we don't write AA, we write A squared, because there's 2 of them. And B. Part E, multiply the numbers. 8 times minus 4 times 2. Use your calculator if you're not good with timesing. So that makes minus 64. Collect the letters. There's an X, a Y, and a Z. Part F, multiply the numbers. 2 times 3 is 6. And A times A, collecting them up, becomes an A squared. G, multiply the numbers. 5 times 3 is 15. Collecting the letters, there's 1A, but there's 2B, so that'll become B squared. H, 3x squared times x. The numbers that you'd multiply would be 3 times 1, so it really just stays as the 3. And your x squared times another x, well, x squared is 2 of them. If I get an extra one, that becomes 3, so x cubed. Part I, 9x squared times 8x. Multiplying the numbers, 9 times 8 is 72. And x squared times another x makes 3 of them, so x cubed. J, multiply all the numbers. 2 times 3 times 2 makes 12. Now, how many A's do we have? We have 1 in the first one and 1 in the last. That's A squared. Now, B's, we have 1 in each of them, so there's 3 of them, so that becomes B cubed. C, there's only 1. And 1D as well. Okay, so that's multiplying. Hopefully nice and quick for these ones. Okay, part 2, question 2, we're moving into dividing. Okay, so it's similar. You can divide anything by dividing the numbers, but instead of collecting up the letters afterwards, they can cancel away. So let me show you how to do that. So part A, 32y divided by 8. So we can divide those numbers. 32 divided by 8 makes 4. Now there was the only letter there was a y, so there's no building up or cancelling off, so it's just 4y. In B, however, we can divide the numbers. 15 divided by 5 is 3, but when you have p divided by p, if we were multiplying, that would become p squared. But when you're dividing, p divided by p actually cancels off, so 3 is all that is left. Part C, 16x divided by 2. Now that fraction still means divide, okay? So it's just like part A and B, we're dividing still. 16 divided by 2 is 8. Oops. 8. There's only the x on the top, so 8x is the answer. In D, 12xy over 16x. If we divide those numbers, 12 divided by 16, it won't give me a very nice answer. It would go to a decimal or a fraction if you type it in your calculator. So what we want to do if this happens is just try to simplify those numbers as much as we can. So both of those numbers can divide by 4, which means that we get a 3 here and a 4 here. Now, coincidentally, you can do that on your calculator. If you just ignore the letters and use your fraction button on your calculator to type in 12 over 16 and press equals, it should give you the answer 3 over 4 and simplify that for you. Also, now looking at the letters, if there is an x on the top and the bottom, they can cancel off, so cross off the x's. Okay, once you've cancelled everything that you can, write down what is left. So on the top, we have a 3 and a y, and on the bottom, all that's left was the 4. So 3y over 4 is the answer. Question 2e, 18abc divided by 81ab. Again, if you type in 18 divided by 81, that's not going to go nicely. So when that happens, when you have this typical divide sign here, the best thing to do when it doesn't go nicely, so in question part A and part B, it went nicely, we got nice whole numbers. But if you have one that doesn't go nicely, write it as a fraction so that you can cancel off like we did in part D. So that would mean that I'd write it as 18abc over 81ab. So just changing from the divide sign to turning it into a fraction. Okay, now like we did in D, we want to cancel or simplify whatever we can. So you can use your calculator to simplify the numbers if you like. You can type in 18 over 81 and press equals. Or to do it without a calculator, you're looking for something that you can divide by, and we can divide those numbers by 9. If you divide by 9, you'll get a 2 and a 9 as your leftover numbers. Also, you can cancel any letters on the top and the bottom, so the A's cancel off and the B's cancel off. Now we want to write down the leftovers. So on the top we have 2c, and on the bottom all that's left is the 9. Okay, F, minus 15x divided by minus 25xy. Again, 15 does not divide by 25 nicely, so let's write it as a fraction. Minus 15x over minus 25xy. So let's start with the numbers, or actually let's start with the minus signs. A minus on the top and the bottom, they will actually also cancel out. So the whole thing's going to become positive. 15 over 25, you can type it in your calculator, or if you divide both of them by 5, you'll get a 3 and a 5. The x's can cancel off. Now what is left is just a 3 on the top and a 5y on the bottom. In G, okay, it's written as a fraction already, so we want to simplify the minus 11 over 44. Both of those numbers can be divided by 11. That would give us a 1 and a 4. We can also cancel the q's, which gives us a minus 1, but we don't need to write the 1 because we have a letter there, p. So we can say minus p over 4. That's all that's left on the bottom. H, let's start with the numbers. The 10 and the 15 we can divide by 5 to give us a 2 and a 3. The b's can cancel off, and what is left is a 2 and an a on the top and a 3c on the bottom. For I, 18 over 8 we can divide by 2, which gives us a 9 and a 4. We can cancel this one x on the bottom. Remember, x squared means there's 2 of them, so if I cross off the 2, that means there's still 1 left. So I have 9xy on the top and a 4z on the bottom. And J, remember that minus signs can cancel off. 15 does divide nicely by 3 and gives us a 5. The a is not going to cancel, but we can cancel one of the b's off with one of those to get rid of the squared. And all that's left is 5ac on the top, and on the bottom all that's left is a b. Question 3. Write a simplified expression for the area of the following shape. So, first of all, if we want to do area, we're going to have to cut that up into two little rectangles. So I'm going to cut it down here. Okay, now to do area, I'm going to need to know the sides of those rectangles. So, on this side, we have 9y, and this one here is just y by itself. This whole side here, all the way down there, that would have to be equal to 9y. That means that this little bit up here that I don't know would be 8y, because 8 and 1 makes 9y, making it the same as the one on the other side. Okay, let's do the same thing to work out this one down here. Okay, so the 10 goes the whole way across. If I subtract off 2, 10 take away 2, that means that this one down the bottom is going to have to be an 8x. Alright, so to work out the area, let's start with this big shape over here, this big one that I've drawn the squiggle in. The sides of that square, or it's not a square, sorry, but sides of that rectangle is the 9y and the 8x. To calculate the area of something, you times the sides together. So that is 9y times 8x. Okay, plus I want to add on the little rectangle. So what were the dimensions of the little rectangle? They were the 8y for the height and the 2x for the length. So we times those together, 8y times 2x. Now, we don't like to leave multiplication signs in our algebra. We know we can times those together. So 9 times 8 makes 72xy, and 8 times 2 is 16, so plus 16xy, and it turns out that they are like terms. They're both xy terms. So that's back to our adding and subtracting rules. If they have the same letters, we can add the coefficients. So 72 plus 16 makes 88xy. Okay, question 4. Another wordy question. A square has a side length of x centimetres. I'm just going to draw a diagram in here. So here is my very roughly drawn square. I'm going to put little marks on here to show that those sides are the same. And all those sides are x long. Alright, state its area in terms of x. Now the area of a square is the side times the side. So that means x times x. So I'm going to write area. I'm going to write A for area is equal to x times x, or otherwise known as x squared. Part B, state the perimeter in terms of x. Now I'm going to use P for perimeter. Perimeter is adding up all the sides. Well, if it's x on this side, then this one's going to be x, and this one's going to be x, and this one's going to be x. So altogether, I have got x plus x plus x plus x. Or, they're all like terms, so 1, 2, 3, 4 x's. Alright, part C is a little bit of an unusual one. It says prove that its area divided by the perimeter is equal to a quarter of the side length. So what I'm trying to find is an expression for area divided by perimeter. Okay, so the area we worked out was x squared. See up here we had x squared for the area. The perimeter we worked out was 4x. So area x squared divided by perimeter 4x. What is that equal to? Well, that doesn't divide very nicely, so let's write it as a fraction, x squared over 4x, and we can cancel the x off the bottom with one of the ones on the top, leaving me with x over 4. Now x over 4 is exactly the same as saying a quarter of x, which is what we were trying to find, a quarter of its side length. So we have shown that it is therefore a quarter of the side length. And that's it.